Hi, welcome to Tendoc Talks about the Power Rangers role-playing game. I'm excited to announce that they have released new supplemental material for the Power Rangers game. It's called Adventures in Angel Grove. It is a campaign book. It's got 4 different scenarios that are designed for low-level players. It released yesterday on October 17th. And I got my physical copy today. It has been available for PDF if you bought the pre-release, if you pre-ordered it. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that are inside the book. Now, full disclosure, I have not gone all the way through the book, but I have noticed some things that I am excited enough about to mention to you first before I dive into some of the specifics of the book and some of the adventures therein. By the end of, if you do every adventure in this book, you should end at about level 5. Remember that in the Power Rangers game, it's this, you gain levels through milestones, not experience points. So your DM ultimately has the final call on when exactly your characters level up. But this adventure assumes that you have been a Power Ranger for at least a little bit. Maybe you've run Glutton for Punishment. Maybe you've run a Fool's Errand from the core book. I don't know. But this is assuming that you've done it for a little while, because the very first adventure in the book assumes you know at least a little bit about the Morphin Grid. So let me talk about the thing that I'm most excited about, because it goes back to one of the first videos I ever did on this subject and in this channel. Threats. This book has additional threats. Things that were missing from the core rulebook that absolutely baffled me are in this edition, and I love it. So let me talk about the ones that I'm most excited about. Both Goldar and Scorpina make an appearance in this book. So does Squat. We still don't have Babu. We have a remade Finster. We still don't have Rita yet. We don't have Zed yet or anything like that. But the addition of Goldar, Scorpina, Squat is, I think, huge, because from my knowledge and experience with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, watching as a kid, I have every episode that had Putties usually had an appearance of Goldar or Scorpina. You know, they were, I don't know, deuteragonists. You know, they weren't the monster of the week, but they were important and they frequently appeared. And I love that. They have, at least for Goldar, they have a normal sized variant and then they have a monster variant so that you can run him grown, along with special abilities and stuff. What I also love about this book is that they have fixed, I don't know if that's the right word, but they have organized the monster block in a way that makes a lot more sense. Like, they finally normalized what monster blocks are going to look like going forward. They looked one way in the core rulebook. There were differences in the Glutton for Punishment, but now they seem to be standardized. So now when you see a monster, it has this threat level. It shows you what its base scores are in strength, smarts, social, and speed. And it mentions toughness. So now you don't have to subtract 10 from things to figure out what their scores are. And it's formatted in such a way that sometimes they can fit 2 monsters on a page, like using a article like Division down the center. Now, I do have the book with me, but I don't want to necessarily show you pages from it, just because I don't know what the rules on copyright and sharing are. I don't want to get in trouble. But there are at least two different types of cogs in this book from one of the later Power Ranger series. And there's like 5 different putties. There's a garden putty, there's a standard putty, there's a putty warrior, there's an overbaked putty, there's an underbaked putty. There's super putties are in here too. And they all have special abilities and whatnot. But this will be the 3rd time we have a stat block for a standard putty. And of all of the different editions, I would probably trust this one the most. So any of the differences in stat block, I would trust this one. It's the latest edition, and I think they're finally starting to get their act together when it comes to formatting things. It has all 3 of the generals from the Robot Empire that you saw in Forever Red. It has... There's... Not to spoil this story too much, but it has some Zord monster blocks, because at certain points you're supposed to fight them, either because of corruption or because they show up. I don't think it would be too much of a spoiler to say that you're supposed to fight the Dragonzord at some point. After all, he's on the cover. But another thing I like is they have added some NPCs for you. They've added like security guards and a newsman. He's a specific NPC, but he's there. And guys, they have a stat block for bulk. They do not appear to have skull, but they have a stat block for bulk. So you can play as him, or you can play him. You can have him in the game, is what I mean. What else? I don't know what a Harathi warrior is, but it's got one of those. The Nasty Knight, whatever quad fighters are. An anti-monster division human warrior with armor and like a rifle? I mean, that's cool, because you could probably just adapt that a little bit into a security guard or whatever you would need. I don't know who Silverhorns is. I mean, I'm sure I'm mentioning some of these names and some of you are freaking out right now, but I don't have an extensive knowledge of everything. So you probably don't necessarily want to buy the book just because it has additional threats in it. So I want to talk about some of the other things that you can find in the book to help you decide whether or not you want to buy it. At the very front of the book, there is a map of Angel Grove. And if you're anything like me, you read the description of Angel Grove in the core rulebook and your head spun a little bit. Yeah, sure, you understood. This is a mall, this is a school, this is, this is in the mountains, and this is by the docks, etc. But where are those things really, and how long would it take to get from one place to another? Well, they have a map in this book that shows you Angel Grove. Now, it lacks a key, it lacks scale. But you can see it's like, this one is all the way on the west side, this one's all the way on the east side. If you want to get there, it's going to take longer than it would to go halfway, right? So if you're playing Theater of the Mind and you don't really care where things are in relation to each other, then you don't really need it for that. And if you're not, and then of course, if your adventure isn't taking place in Angel Grove, you're not going to need to know how to do that either. So it's entirely up to you whether or not you're going to use this version of Angel Grove, or if you're just going to create a place all on your own. But if you were ever curious, since this system really focuses so hard on the Mighty Morphin era and on Angel Grove and of the generals, General Rita and Putties and monsters, this could make your life really easy. There are some battle maps in this book, although they're not generic battle maps. They signify very specific places where things need to get done, to give you like a sense of scale. But I figured it was worth mentioning since some of the other adventures like Glutton for Punishment and especially the core rulebook, they didn't have very many maps. Like, sure, in what was it called? Fool's Errand, there was the end encounter with the monster clown thing, but I don't know. This one has quite a few places that are important. They show you what it looks like, and I love that. But here's what's not in the book, okay? There are no new features, no new perks, no new Zords. Maybe an updated block for the Dragonzord, which is cool. So I would trust what was in this book and not what was in the core. It does not have new ranger types. There's no new grid powers. I may have already said that. There's no new weapons. This is not an expansion. This is not a rules clarification. This is just 4 campaign settings, and a list of monsters. And if all you want to do is play some Power Rangers, and you don't really want to think about it too hard, you can grab this book and play the scenarios that it has written in it, and you'll have content for a couple of days. For a couple of sessions, actually. It'll work out great. If all you want to do is get more for your homebrew, you still might consider getting this because it has a list of monsters for you to borrow and a good format for those monsters to be in. But if you have hit a stride with creating your own monsters and your own mythos, you could probably skip this one. I do want to share a teaser, though, because in the Power Rangers Discord, Renegade Games has been talking a lot about 3 new Ranger roles that are coming. They have announced Gold Ranger, Silver Ranger, and Purple Ranger. They are going to be coming along in a space manual of some kind. Like, I don't know, like this is Adventures in Angel Grove. This is like Astronomical Adventures, or some space theme where they're going to give you the Gold, Silver, and Purple Ranger. Now, I think, don't quote me on this one, but I think the Gold Ranger specializes in defense. But this one I know for certain. The Purple Ranger's specialty is emotions. I don't know what that means. But if I had to guess, their highest stat is probably going to be social. I don't know. The only Purple Ranger that I know of from my memory was the Wolf Ranger. And I think that was from SBD. I could be wrong. Because I've only seen pictures. Like, as I said, my Power Rangers knowledge of the TV show, it goes from Mighty Morphin to Zeo. I checked out before Turbo was a thing. I have been accidentally catching up on some of the mythos, looking up things for this game, looking up things for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. By the way, comment if you want to see me play that game. But I don't know a whole lot outside of what you can get from an afternoon of Wikipedia searches. Still, that is coming in the future, but this is not that. There is no new character building options. No new Zords. This is just, it gives you some more threats, some battle maps, 4 possible scenarios that you could run, and that's it. If that interests you, get it. If that doesn't interest you, wait for the next thing to come out. Stay tuned for more.